Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I was never a big believer in signs. I always thought life moved too quietly for dramatic warnings or cosmic nudges. But the morning everything changed. It arrived with nothing more unusual than the smell of roasted beans and the soft hum of conversations in a downtown cafe. My name's Rowan. I'm 38, a graphic designer. The type of guy who keeps his head down, meets deadlines, and rarely expects anything extraordinary from an ordinary Tuesday. I went to Hazel and Pine, the cafe I'd been visiting for nearly a decade because routine gave me structure. I ordered the same thing I always did, a flat white and a toasted almond croissant. And I sat at the same window-side table, the one where people passed by on the sidewalk like a moving tapestry of lives I'd never intersect with. I was halfway through editing a client's logo when I heard the door open behind me. Normally, I wouldn't have bothered looking up, but something made me glance over anyway. That's when I saw her, Lila. I hadn't seen Lila in almost 5 months. We weren't old flames or exes or anything dramatic like that. Lila was the best friend of my girlfriend, Avery. They'd grown up together, inseparable since childhood, the kind of bond where they could finish each other's sentences. Lila was bright. One of those people who made the air feel warmer when she walked into a room. But that morning, she didn't look bright at all. Her face was pale, her expression tight, like she'd been wrestling with something far bigger than she could hold. She scanned the cafe until her eyes landed on me, and something inside me sank, because in that single second, I knew she wasn't there for coffee. She walked toward me with slow, careful steps and gently pulled out the chair across from mine. "Hey, Ro," she said softly. Nobody called me Ro except Avery and Lila. Suddenly, the nickname felt heavy, like hearing it meant I was about to lose something. "Didn't expect to see you here," I said, trying to sound normal. She took a breath that trembled slightly. "I know. She stopped, looked down, then folded her hands on the table as if grounding herself. "I need to talk to you. Those words never mean anything small." "Okay," I said cautiously, closing my laptop. "What's going on?" Her fingers clenched. Her eyes flicked toward the window, then back to me. "I've been deciding for 3 weeks whether to tell you this." My pulse kicked. "Tell me what?" She swallowed hard. "Avery hasn't been honest with you." The air felt like it dropped 10 degrees. My relationship with Avery had been strained, I guess. She'd grown distant over the past few months. Late nights at work, phone face down on the counter. Exhaustion she claimed came from stress. I saw the signs but ignored them because love can make people stupidly hopeful. I leaned back. "What do you mean?" Lila exhaled slowly, as if she were stepping into traffic. "Rowan. She's been seeing someone else." The words didn't explode. They landed quietly, almost too gently, like a thread being snipped. But the effect was instant. A tightening in my chest, a heaviness in my throat, the kind of cold that settles in the bones. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. Lila's eyes glossed with guilt. I didn't want to be the one to say it. I told her to tell you, but she wouldn't. And I couldn't keep watching you care for someone who wasn't being fair to you. There was sincerity in her voice. Pain. Even. She wasn't enjoying this. If anything, she looked like she might break under the weight of it. "Who is he?" I asked eventually. "A coworker," she whispered. "Someone from her marketing team." It didn't start as anything planned. But it crossed a line weeks ago. I stared past Lila at the window. The city was still moving. People walking, laughing, heading to work. But my world felt oddly still, like everything inside me had gone quiet. "Why are you telling me?" I finally asked. Lila's eyes softened with something complicated. Not pity, something deeper. "Because you deserve to choose your life with the truth, not with whatever version she thinks is convenient." I let the words sink in. They didn't feel like betrayal from Lila. They felt like rescue, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to be saved. She hesitated, then added, "Rowan, there's more." I looked up slowly. "More." Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Something about why she stayed, and why she didn't want to tell you." I felt a pulse of dread. Just say it. Her eyes held mine, steady and heartbreaking, because she wasn't planning to stay much longer. I froze. You mean? Lila nodded, tears pooling. Avery was planning to leave you, Ro. Soon. She already talked to her sister about moving in with her temporarily. It felt like someone had quietly pulled the floor out from beneath my life. No crash. No noise. Just a slow, sickening drop. I sat there in stunned silence while the world continued as if nothing had happened. And then Lila whispered the sentence that shifted everything. She said, "She didn't think you'd fight for her." Her words echoed in my head long after she said them. She didn't think you'd fight for her. It was strange, almost ironic. Avery had spent months drifting away, shutting me out, choosing silence over conversation, choosing distance over repair. And yet, somehow, she'd convinced herself that I was the one who wouldn't fight. But maybe that's how people justify walking away. They rewrite the story so they don't have to feel guilty for the ending. I rubbed my hands over my face. So she thinks I wouldn't care enough to try? Lila sighed. No. She thinks you're too calm, too forgiving. She said you'd make leaving too easy. And she didn't want to feel like the villain. There it was. The quiet cruelty hidden behind soft excuses. Avery didn't want the pain of leaving. She wanted the comfort of believing it wasn't her fault. I looked at Lila. How long have you known? A month, she said, wincing. She told me after a couple glasses of wine. I tried to talk sense into her. She shut me out. And then I watched you show up for her over and over again. It felt wrong to stay silent. Her honesty wasn't light. It pressed against her, as if doing the right thing cost her something too. What do you want me to do with this? I asked quietly. I don't want anything from you, she said. I just need you to know the actual story you're living in. Outside, a bus hissed at the curb. Inside, a spoon clinked against a ceramic cup. Normal sounds. Ordinary life. But my world had divided cleanly into two halves, before this moment and after. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the table between us. Funny thing is, I said, my voice low, I thought we were finally coming out of the rough patch. I thought she was tired, overworked, stressed. I didn't think she was preparing an exit. Lila's expression cracked with guilt. You're a good man, Ro. You deserve someone who doesn't make you guess if you matter. I gave a humorless laugh. Guessing has basically been my full-time job lately. For the first time that morning, Lila's hand moved toward mine. But she stopped just short, as if unsure whether comfort was allowed. You don't have to decide anything today, she murmured. Just breathe. Think. You're allowed to let this hit you. But the hit wasn't a single blow, it was a slow collapse. A quiet realization spreading through me like cold water. I should have seen it, I said softly. All the late nights, the sudden protectiveness over her phone, the way she pulled away when I reached for her. You trusted her, Lila said. That's not a flaw, but it felt like one. Trust without awareness can feel like walking with your eyes closed near a cliff. I stood up abruptly. I didn't mean to startle her, but the chair scraped against the wood floor as if punctuating the moment. I need air, I muttered. Lila rose too. I'll walk with you. We stepped outside into the cool morning. The breeze was gentle, carrying hints of pine from the small planters along the sidewalk. I shoved my hands into my jacket pockets, trying to anchor myself in something. Anything. We walked in silence for a minute. Then I asked the one question I'd been avoiding. Does she love him? Lila hesitated. I don't think she knows what she feels. I think she likes the attention, the thrill, the distraction. But love? No, I don't think so. Somehow that didn't comfort me. It actually made it worse. Because losing someone to love is tragic. Losing them to boredom feels like failure. So what happens now? I asked. That's your choice, she said gently. But whatever you decide, don't decide from pain. Decide from clarity. I nodded slowly. Then, unexpectedly, she added, for what it's worth, I think she's making the biggest mistake of her life. I looked at her then, really looked at her. Lila wasn't just sad for me. She was sad for the future I didn't know had already been taken from me. There was sincerity in her eyes, and something else too. An ache that didn't belong to Avery at all. "Why do you care so much?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her breath caught. "Because I've known you just as long as she has," she whispered. "And somewhere along the way, I started seeing things she didn't." I blinked at her. "What things?" She stepped just a little closer, her voice steady but fragile. "That you're patient in a world that's impatient. That you're loyal in a world that treats loyalty like an optional extra. That you show up even when no one else notices." And Avery stopped valuing that. But I never did. The world seemed to still around us. I didn't know what this moment meant. Not yet. Not fully. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't a proposal. It wasn't even hope. It was simply the truth from someone who cared enough to risk saying it. "Rowan," she murmured. "The hard truth wasn't just about what she did. It's about what you deserve." I swallowed. "And what do you think I deserve?" Lila's eyes softened. "Someone who stays because they see you clearly. Not because they need someone until something better appears." Her words sank deep, gentle but transformative. And for the first time in months, the weight on my chest shifted. Not disappeared, but changed shape. Felt less like loss and more like awakening. We stood there on the sidewalk, two people connected by a truth neither of us had planned to share. And that was the moment my life, quietly, subtly, irrevocably, shifted in an instant.